Well, we knew it was bound to happen, and yes, it's happened. Folks are trying to talk Nikki Haley into running and getting out of the race because it looks like she's going to lose in South Carolina. But as Jimmy Eaton and others have said, it's much too early to be doing all of that kind of madness and all along those lines. But we're going to see what Jim's got to say about that, as well as Sasha Starr. And I have learned, because we were talking about it on the World Edition earlier, that there is a new person that is running into trouble in the political lane. And Jim, you're going to love this one, as will Sasha as well. So we got both Jim Eid and Sasha Starr with us on today and everything. But definitely, it's amazing that folks are upset at Commando or Commander, because apparently the Biden's dog is going around biting Secret Service agents and all along those lines. So the Biden's dog is being a little cantankerous. Maybe he doesn't like the Secret Service. Maybe the Secret Service is feeding him the wrong things. But we do know that there was like 24 incidences of him biting the Secret Service agent. So now folks are thinking that maybe Biden needs to send the dog back to Delaware or someplace else and everything. But what are y'all's thoughts around Nikki Haley getting out of the race? And there are a couple of other political things that are going on, but I thought you would enjoy that, Jim, because I'm going like, why can't they just leave the dog alone? Because I know you like to give people peace and like to have peace in life, whether it's people or animals, and they just don't want to leave them alone.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the dog is doing or what people are doing to the dog, but 24 incidents means something should change. So, hopefully the dog gets to a place where it can and feels safe and secure and doesn't have to defend itself against perceived threats, real or otherwise.
Yeah. Maybe he's just allergic to Secret Service agents. Secret Service agents might be a little cantankerous. Maybe he just can't stand them and everything. Hey, Sasha, one of the things that I also saw in the news that we talked about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts around it, because we talked about it, but we didn't go into deep discussion about it. But folks are saying that Biden is getting a little punchy, and he's getting to start get his ability to talk junk about people very much up there, because apparently he said that your friend, and yes, I'm being sarcastic, Mr. Putin is a crazy SOB. And that was his exact word. So he actually said that Putin is a crazy SOB. And then Mr. Putin came back and said, that's not very becoming of a United States politician, and all along those lines. But what is your thoughts? Because apparently he's out there saying what he is, speaking his mind. And I don't mind when folks speak their mind, whether they're 80 or 90 or even in their 20s. But apparently he's very much speaking his mind, and he let folks know that he thinks that Putin is a crazy SOB.
Doesn't have to go that far to Russia. He has one crazy SOB right here in the United States, and he has to first of all he has to figure out what to do with him, because obviously he will end up in jail one way or another. But to tell the truth, I'm really, it's getting bizarre that two best friends, two crazy SOBs, found each other so well, Donald Trump and Putin. But you see, Trump has a more dangerous position, because Putin obviously will not end up in jail. He will rule until he'll die. Who knows when he'll die. He's supposedly in pretty good health, and he may live for another, I don't know, 20 years. I wouldn't rule it out. Now, with Donald Trump, the situation is that sometimes when there are a lot of, you have a lot of discussions about abortions. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, abortions are actually quite useful. For example, if you think that his mother could have made an abortion, and what a wonderful world would be without Donald Trump. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that would be an interesting world. Hey, Jim, speaking of that issue and everything, Nikki Haley has come out, because there was this Alabama ruling and everything where they have decided that the whole thing with embryos, and she is saying that frozen embryos are babies. So she has definitely come out and made that statement that frozen embryos are definitely babies. And we've got one of our founders, a young lady as well, Kim Calhoun. And I'd love to hear her thoughts around this, but she has come out and said that frozen embryos are babies, and that was that ruling that was out there and everything.
So I was wondering about that, especially after the embryo situation that they were having. How would pro-life activists approach that issue, given their stand on abortion? So, I just think people are meddling into things that are none of their business, and that's my opinion. I think people need to go worry about themselves, and if it's a Christian issue or your religion issue, take it on with you and let those people deal with their higher means with whatever decisions they make. This is I'll put it this way, because it does kind of lead into the abortion issue. And I have this problem with pro-lifers that they really don't care about that life after the baby's born or after the embryo's born. It's born and that's it. There's no pro-life about that. And the reason why I know this is I was speaking with a young girl the other day who, gave birth to a baby. Didn't have to, but she did. She's a single mama. And the daddy was there when the baby was born. The situation was, and her fear was, first off, she couldn't get a job while she was pregnant. After she had the baby, she had some complications. It's been very difficult getting a job that would pay her enough to put the baby in daycare and things like that. It's, it's not easy. Okay. So, her choices were, potentially maybe to go get an abortion, but, she was kind of like trying to abide by all of the rules. And when she gave birth to the baby, there came a debt she didn't expect. She didn't know that it cost so much, $30,000 plus. Okay. And she has to pay that bill. Even though the father was there, they never had him sign a piece of paper or anything. And so now when she wants to go get a job, because the hospital and all the doctors that were on there, because the bill hasn't been paid yet, they've taken her to court. She was too scared to go to court and couldn't. She didn't have a means to get there. And so by the time all of this kind of came around, she owes so much money that if she gets a job, they're just going to take it out of her paycheck every day anyway. Again, nothing against the father. So now she has bad credit. He's got great credit, got a job, do whatever the hell he wants. And you know what? It's all perfectly legal for him. If you read the Donald Trump books, it's all perfectly legal to do whatever.
Kim, along those same lines.
Girl's back, and now she can't, even if she wanted to go get some jobs, she can't because she has bad credit because she owes the hospital. And
Kim, along those same lines and everything, I hear what you're saying in that regards, but I definitely want to hear from.
Wait, I want to time out just real quick. Sasha, you look really healthy lately. I really like your new look, by the way. I wanted to say something the other day, but you're looking really healthy. I know it has nothing to do with world politics, but sometimes what are you doing? Where are you at?
At the Aruba.
He went to Aruba. He went on a vacation, so he escaped us.
It's my probably 7th or 8th trip to Aruba, and there's nothing better than that. Absolutely.
Well, I need to make a trip there. You look fabulous, by the way. You look happy, healthy, just vibrant.
Thank you.
No doubt about that. Hey, but along those same lines, what you were just talking about, and everything, there is another candidate for the president that is not having that much of a chance, and everything, that being Robert Kennedy Jr. But there is a rapper, an Atlanta rapper, that is kind of what you were talking about, Kim. He dropped a bombshell proposal aimed at revolutionizing child support, and he was actually aiming it at the African American community. So Killer Mike came up with a 2-year plan. He's calling it, his plan is audacious, is as audacious as it rhymes, according to some people. So he envisions a 2-year grace period for new parents, during which child support payments are waived. No financial burdens, no court battles. Instead, the focus shifts to investing in the child's future. Here's how he breaks it down. Debt-free year for the initial 2 years. Parents won't owe a dime. The state covers essential expenses like food programs and early education. No more dragging reluctant fathers to court. Trade school option. During this grace period, fathers have a choice. They can either pay back the state or invest in the child's future by attending trade schools. So he's saying it's a win-win education for dads and stability for the dads, and closing the educational gap. Mike's passionate about closing the education gap. He points out that while young women are increasingly pursuing college degrees, young men often lag behind, and his proposal is aiming to level the playing field. So what are our thoughts about this 2-year grace period proposed by a rapper that apparently is involved in politics and everything? So what is our thoughts about this 2-year plan, and could it work? I'll start with you,
I'm
Jim.
wondering how many people he got pregnant to make him come up with this. But I will say this: my doctor had a great idea.
He's on a roll.
My doctor, I was talking to my doctor about it because I found out it, and I was just infuriated. And the doctor's idea is that they should start, just to solve all of this problem with the abortions and everything, that boys should have vasectomies when they're very young. They're very simple, very easy. They're not harsh on the male, and they're easy reversible. They grow up and become mature enough to make the decision when they can get a girl pregnant. Whereas most of the options women have for family planning are not as safe and reversible. So I agree with that. But, I don't know. There are so many things they can do. I think that they should put something together for the woman, the single mom, to go. I think if the dad gets involved in helping with the baby without having to take him to court, then, the heaven doors are open for them. But also maybe, give them some tax credits. But right now, it's all perfectly legal to shame the woman and leave everything on her back. Did you hear what happened in South Carolina? So some of the girls from North Carolina are going to South Carolina to get their abortions. And this one girl, planned it, said free abortion, just come get your abortion. We got you. We'll take care of you. So, the girl's going down there thinking everything's all going to be hunky dory. And she gets there and they get her in, and they start shaming her a little bit and putting her down, and she says, "Well, I'm out of here. I'm leaving." No, you'll get your free abortion. And she goes, "Well, I got a job. I'm missing my work today. Nobody's paying me." And they go, no, we got you. And it wasn't an abortion clinic. It was a Christian family planning clinic. And now she's suing them. Good for her. But what, is that right too? Should a Christian?
No, it's not just abortion. They've been doing that in a number of things. There have definitely been some Christian organizations that have tried to shame people out of what they feel are their lifestyle choices, whether that's their gay lifestyle choices or some other things. But, these kind of conversion centers are very much out there, and all along those lines, they've been out there for a while, and I think that they are a travesty, but that's just my own personal opinion. Everything.
I think all of those traps are, but this was a girl who booked a medical procedure. Literally went down, and I think that I hope they get the pantsuit off of them and shut down. And I think anyone who's faking themselves like that, should go to hell. But
they probably should. But there are a lot of those conversion centers. I'm sure that Jim has even heard of some in the West Coast and everything, where they would try to get people to make a change. And a lot of times they call it intervention, whatever the heck that means. But Jim, you've also worked in something that intervention is legitimately a real concern and everything, being that of the folks that have been involved in different addictions and all along those lines. But what is your thought around this intervention notion? Because I'm with Kim on the fact that certain things you don't need intervention on.
Well, the thing is, sometimes it's difficult to know when you're intervening or interfering, right. And but there's no question that committing fraud is not what Jesus would do. So none of these people are really Christians the way I was taught to be a Christian. And these are the types of things that are a danger to democracy, because what they really want is a theocracy. They don't want a democracy. They want the theocratic rule that they'll go abide by their interpretations of what the Bible says. And this is one of these things that is a danger, a clear and present danger to the democracy. And they're all supporting Trump. So, I shouldn't say all, but the people that are doing things like these intervention centers, yeah, you could bet they're hard right wingers. There's a definite correlation between this. You see it in Iowa, for example, where people were advocating the same number of people that voted for Trump were the same, but the percentage was very close to the same people who wanted a federal abortion ban. So this kind of thing is going on in this country right now. And it's time for Americans to stand up for what this democracy stands for: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it does not mean that you can tell someone else to abide by your principles, your life. They have a right to live their life and pursue happiness in their way. And you have no right to interfere. So this question about whether or not these people can get away with it, there's a legal system that will try to hold them to account, I'm sure. Hopefully they do. But, accountability is not always guaranteed. So these people are getting away with this all over the country. It's not just South Carolina, but I wonder about a person who would go to South Carolina for this kind of medical procedure. Shouldn't the red flags be waving and the lights be going off? And I
don't know I haven't paid much attention to North Carolina laws because it's just different everywhere. But I've been told it's been some issues here in North Carolina. So a lot of the women feel like they have to go to South Carolina to And the guy in South Carolina, and one of the leaders there is like, we're tired of you North Carolinians coming here for help. So, I get it. It's bad all over.
Yeah, South Carolina has got Nikki Haley and Tim Scott, so they haven't exactly been strong in the sense of being overly liberal and everything. And North Carolina definitely has a conservative judicial system and a conservative courts and even legislature. But one thing that I'd be curious about, and we actually brought it up with one of the other founders on World Edition earlier, but one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of, I don't know if it is prominent in Canada as it is here, but a number of the candidates, particularly here in North Carolina, but I would argue around the country and everything, are arguing that they are running on Judeo-Christian principles. And as I put it in the earlier show, I've looked at the Constitution. I've looked at a number of other things. I know that there were definitely some Christians that were there among the founding fathers, but there were also deists among the founding fathers as well. So my question is, where in the Constitution does it say that we are a Judeo-Christian nation? Because there are a number of candidates locally, and I would argue some in California and some in the other places that are, particularly around Texas, that are campaigning that they're going to bring this kind of philosophy to whatever jurisdiction that they are part of and everything. So, Jim, are y'all getting that in California? And if so, would it fly there in California? Because
you always hear that kind of stuff, but these are people that never read the Federalist Papers. They never knew what the founding fathers really wanted to do. They clearly just wanted a separation of the church and state. They wanted you to be able to practice freedom to practice your own religion. They didn't say Christian. They didn't say Judaic. They didn't say anti-Muslim. They didn't say any of that kind of stuff. And yes, it's the best way to describe them as deists. Because they believed that there was a higher power, but they didn't believe in any one particular creed. So this craziness that's come around, this particular evangelical wave that this country is suffering from right now, is they need to practice these principles in their own affairs, not bring it into the public square, and not try to make the country in their idea of what it would be like. And they use things to accomplish their goals that are anti-Christian. I know this, because I was taught, and I was in the Catholic faith when I was brought up, and it was very clear about what right and wrong, and they're doing wrong in order to make the ends justify the means. And this is backwards thinking. And they should be ashamed of themselves, and they need to be held to account. And people have to be unafraid to say, these are theists. These are not Democrats. These are not Republicans. These are not people that believe in the principles of this country was founded upon.
So, I wanted to know has anyone, and I guess I just started looking into this. There was a woman who is, I guess, Palestinian American, but she became the first, what was it, in Congress, first
yeah.
to be sworn into Congress, and her views on what to do for America are just freaking phenomenal, much better than that rapper.
I like my
No offense to him. I mean, I think some of what he said is good, but I also think, you know, he's still speaking on the pro daddy side. But I look at her stuff like, you know, Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, debt-free colleges, you know, abolish certain things that we need to abolish, maybe not ICE, but you know, to kind of make our country stronger with less bullies. And I like some of her stand. What are y'all's position on her? I think it's, I can't pronounce her name. I feel bad, but it's Tlaib. Tlaib. Okay, so anyone? I mean, she's 42 years old. Pretty young woman.
Well, it sounds like, and I will say this about Killer Mike as well, that they are pro-life in the way that I think of being pro-life.
Right.
Which is if someone is born into this world and they're in poverty and suffering, it's a society's job to look after them. It's not just dog eat dog out there. You know, it is something where we all need to be aware that if someone has been brought into this world, we can't let them just suffer and die. If we can do something about it as a society, that if you want to call us a just society, then that's practicing justice. And it isn't necessary to shame them and bully them and try to convert their religion or their faith or their sexual orientation or any of that kind of stuff. All of that stuff is nonsense. What you do is help those who cannot help themselves, give them a lift up. And what we've been doing as a society is trying to step on each other's necks in order to lift ourselves up. And that's not the way you do it.
No, you don't. And that's
you give people a hand to lift them up.
That is so well said, because I think when you help people learn to help themselves, you know, don't feed them, but teach them how to grow their own food or become who they need to become, a more nurturing side. And I'm not saying give them things. I'm saying give them opportunities, give them the ability to have opportunities. You're so right. I mean, and this rapper guy, I mean, I'm sure he's kind of on that same realm, because he's saying educate people.
Yeah, get them job training.
Right. You know, one of the things I've said is we have enslaved ourselves. And then I hear, you know, some of the people say, well, you know, people can go to trade school, but have you seen the cost of trade school? So trade school cost as much as it did when I went to college. Okay. So trade school today costs $60,000 to $80,000 to go to trade school. And then, you know, college costs a mortgage, right? So everything today is designer, enslave the youth. Everything is designer, enslave the youth. And there's no future. And in fact, most of the youth that I speak with today, and the other day, it's just hit me hard in the stomach. They don't even want to live in our country anymore. And then you've got the communist parties coming up, and the youth are signing up with the communist parties. So, you know, and I have to ask myself, what did we do to make it so bad? And it wasn't we, but we allowed it. The government has paved this for the rich man. So the rich man is getting richer. And I'm not putting hardworking people down, but everything since the PPP loan, everything since then has been nothing more than making the rich man wealthier. And
they've been buying our politicians. That's one of the things that the reason that democracy is having as much trouble as it has is that the dark money is talking. They're buying politicians, getting them to pass legislation that favors the rich. And, you know, the poor doesn't have a voice in all of that. So they don't get to take their congressman out to a yacht and tell them, you know, what they want the congressman to do. They don't have the clout. They don't have the power. They don't have a voice. And so, you know, what we're seeing is it's more or less an oligarchy of wealthy people that are buying these politicians and getting them to do their will. So what we need is a grassroots movement. We need to work from the ground up. And there are politicians that are trying to accomplish that, but it is an uphill fight because money talks.
No, money
And-
definitely talks, and along
It
those same lines,
does. It
yeah,
does.
along those
You
same lines,
trade stocks, right?
no, money definitely talks, bullshit walks, as the old saying goes, and everything. But along those same lines and everything, one of our least favorite people, and I'm sure Sasha has got some thoughts around this. He's going around and he's naming some folks that he thinks will be his vice president. He's put out a bunch of names out there, including a former Democrat. So I was surprised when he had, and I remember her, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but Tulsi Gabbard, before she switched over, was actually relatively liberal to moderate. It seems like she might have gone more conservative now that she has switched parties and all along those lines. But that is a name that he tossed out there as his potential vice president, along with Ron DeSantis, along with Tim Scott, along with Kristi Noem, and there were a few others as well. So he's got
I'm gonna make those duck lips with dollar bills, right? But no, I think it's all about money. I think Donald Trump can buy anybody he wants, and we've been witnessing that, haven't we?
Well, I think once he pays off some of the damages that he's required to pay off, or at least post a bond, the question of whether he has cash on hand to do this anymore is dubious at best.
Well, you do know that donors are still sending him like $10 million a week.
I know it. I know.
So, I mean, his campaign is paying for his debt. So your dollars, your donation dollars, idiots, are investing in paying off his debts to our society. So
That's the only way he can afford his legal bills.
Sasha, what's your thoughts on this? Because you're actually surprised as the gentleman from Canada as to the amount of people in America that are willing to support support Donald and everything. So what is your take on this? Because every time that you've been on our variety of shows, including the news show and the investment show, I know that you oftentimes bring up how you are surprised at the amount of gullible folks, for lack of a better term, there are in the United States, but you have definitely said that you don't believe that Donald Trump will ever win the presidency. But I just wanted your take on this gentleman and whether he can actually win, and also just your thoughts on the amount of folks that, like Kim said, are sending him money relentlessly.
Donald Trump became basically a new cult in United States of America. We are talking about, of course, his base, so-called base, 30 million people, give or take. And these people, they're ready to die for Donald Trump, really. Even if he'll die before them, they will still be ready to die just to show their devotion, amazement of Donald Trump, and so on. So this is very, very difficult to classify as except that it's a cult. Now, I was listening to a few supposedly quite knowledgeable people about Trump and his affairs and so on. There is no way that he can pay $600 million in 26 days. He already asked for a grace period of about a month to help him to get his finances in order. And Letitia James said that she is already eyeing certain properties which will go first. Now, one is the 40 Wall Street Trump property. This can generate a little bit of money, and that probably will go first. So he has 26 days for the big judgment. Now, for this 83 million, he has less than 26 days, probably 22 days or so. But that supposedly somehow he will manage to do it, although it's unclear how, because he doesn't have a lot of cash. All these real estate developers, they're all working through different loans, construction loans, the
king of debt.
They leverage their assets. So if you will start now, selling is one thing, but when you start liquidate, that's a very different thing. On the liquidation, they may get maybe 15, 20 cents on the dollar. That's it. Because it's in favorable market condition. Well, look, there is no lineup to buy your properties. So, okay, this is what you can get today. Tomorrow, it will be even less. Take it whatever you're lucky to get today. So, his situation, and we have not even started the criminal proceedings. On
Right.
criminal proceedings, no properties or no money will help him at all, because once you have to go to jail, you just go to jail. There was a picture of one. The closest jail to Mar-a-Lago is in West Palm Beach. It's a very modern structure. It's quite pleasant and comfortable. So he will be given a good care in that facilities. So maybe they're already trying to keep it nice. So get ready for Donald to get there.
Well, the other thing, Sasha, I think I agree with everything you're saying, is that when you do a liquidation, if the property is heavily indebted, then they're not getting very much money out of that. And so this is a real problem, because Trump, as the king of debt, always borrowed, and then he would borrow more to pay off his debt that he had incurred before. So, his the problem he's run into now is no one is willing to lend him money now. The last bank, Deutsche Bank, was getting money from the Russians. And so they were funneling the money from Russia to Donald Trump. So we wonder why Donald Trump loves Putin. Well, it's all of the money. It's easy. And the
It's
thing
easy,
is,
but speaking of money, he's got one of his friends that is actually facing trial. Maybe they'll share a jail cell together. But during his presidency, he lavished some serious praise on the leader of Honduras and everything. So definitely he lavished him, because he said he was stopping drugs at a level that never before happened and everything. And 2 years after, he was extradited to shackles to the U.S. And now the former Honduras president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, is to stand trial in New York on Monday, accused of overseeing a narco state and accepting millions in bribes from drug traffickers, including the former leader of the Sinaloa cartel, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. So apparently this is a first former head of state to face drug trafficking charges in the United States since another former U.S. ally, the Panamanian strongman that we know as Noriega, over 30 years ago, and all along those lines. So it looks like another strongman might be facing justice here in this area. So what do you think, Sasha? Should Trump and this gentleman share a jail cell together and everything?
No, probably not, because the jails that I just described in West Palm Beach, this is the closest jail to Mar-a-Lago, which is official Trump's residence. So he's there fit like really perfect. Now the other gentleman, I don't know which jail he will be put in. It's hard to say. Don't think that West Palm Beach. Probably.
No, because he'll be in one of the New York jails. That would be my guess, Jim. But if they capture Trump's property in New York, they can share a New York jail cell. So what thoughts around this, Jim? So should they sell a New York jail cell together?
I do. So yeah, but go ahead, Jim.
New York doesn't want him. It doesn't want anything to do with him ever again. He won't be able to be part of a business. He won't be able to be on a board. Banks in New York long ago found out that this guy was not trustworthy. The problem with people that support him, as they say, this is a Trump cult. There's no question about it. The Republican Party has been taken over by a cult. And we have to remember that when we go to the polls and vote. But the idea here is that these people have been conned. Now, Donald Trump is well known as a con man, but people don't want to admit they got conned, so they dig in their heels. And so,
we've got a visitor coming in from the Capitol. So we've got Steve Brown visited us from the Capitol. So he's actually there in Washington, and I think he just met with Andrew Yang here in the area of the Triangle yesterday. So, Steve, are you ready to become the new president? Because you're over there behind the Capitol. So I assume you're getting ready for your new job and everything. So we see that you're looking vibrant as well over there in D.C. So how is things going?
Yeah. It's actually really great. I'm up here today with Governor Roy Cooper and a couple of it. We're going to be going. The Democratic governors has their meeting tonight, and so we're going to be with the 14 governors of the U.S. Democratic governors at a reception. And but yeah, it's great to be here. I just wanted to come on World Edition from the Capitol. I had to get my my lift to get to the place, but yeah, it's amazing. It was great meeting with Andrew Yang. We're going to talk about it next week. He's the head of the Forward Party, and he wants to bring people back to the middle on both Democrats and Republicans. So we're going to bring him on as a guest. I reached out to him. Congress isn't in session today, this week, but a lot of people talking about the presidential race. A lot of rumors up here in Washington that Nikki Haley is going to bow out next week and then strike a deal with Trump and be the vice presidential candidate. Also, rumors rumbling that Joe Biden may not make it to the convention, and then they're going to have to find someone else to run. I don't know if that's true or not. But and then the other thing going on is what's going on with Israel. Terrible with the attack on Rafah, and of course, on Friday or Saturday we don't celebrate, but we remember the 2-year invasion of Ukraine's anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, and so we're going to talk about the war and how it's going, but all eyes on Donald Trump. If he wins the presidency, I think pretty much all aid will be cut from Ukraine. So, but anyway, I wanted to greet you all from the Capitol. It's great to be here. It's brisk, it's cold, but it's always good to be in the nation city, being up here, and hopefully one day I'll be here for good. But
yeah,
but
looks good on you. The blue tie and the backdrop there is a whole lot better than the one you use here. I'll say that.
It's better than mine.
I might take a picture of it and see if I can use it for the background on my machine.
The Guilty Association.
Steve for president. Steve, it would be good to hear a review and update about the meeting that's going on, because I'm always curious when you just get one political party of leaders that go and sit and meet about something. I'm always curious, what is their intent and what do they intend to gain when it's just them and not everyone involved? So I would love to hear, because I'm sure the Republicans do it too. So I'm not like saying one side, or Democrats. I'm not saying one or the other, but I would love to hear what comes out of a party meeting like that.
Yeah, I'll definitely come in with all eyes. Hopefully I'll see the Gov, Coops, and I'll see these 14 governors, and it's exciting times. I look forward to being back. I'm sorry I got to run back, but I got to go home.
Go get them. Go get them, Tiger.
Wear my Carolina blue for Roy Cooper, my blue sky, the blue state, and Roy Cooper. There's some people yelling at Roy Cooper. And we're going to do what we can. And hopefully we'll have Governor Josh Stein here in a few weeks.
Hey, that would be great if we can get Josh Stein on. And really quickly, Steve, while I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of people that are thinking that Mike Woodard, our congressman, might be in trouble with Sophia and everything. But I just wanted your take on that. Is there a possibility?
Yeah, the word on the street, he's not real happy with me right now, because I went to an event with Leo Williams, who I've known for years as a friend, and he was really mad that I endorsed Leo, but I did endorse Mike Woodard on my newsletter. But because I do think he's been a good state senator, and I think that he's an asset to the state, and I think we need to keep people that have experience. But I have heard from confirmed sources that he is in significant amount of trouble. It could be the end for Mike Woodard. But, if it is, he's had a good run. And the one thing that I've learned, my work in media has taught me, which quite frankly is making me a more effective leader, is that you don't need politics to be someone important. You can serve the community other ways. So if Mike does lose, he can be like the rest of us. He can get a job and he can get back in the morning and get it done, right? There's no lifelong appointment to be a state senator. I hope he makes it. Right now, if I were a betting man, I think it's not looking good for him. So I would prepare both a concession speech and a victory speech, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard something similar. I've heard that young lady that is running against him is actually a strong candidate and has got some of the liberal base behind her. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and if the run for mayor did not hurt him and everything. There's something that both, and if you want to stick around, Steve, you can, that both Trump and Biden have been accused of, and there is a significant talk show host that has actually been confirmed with this diagnosis. So I was just wondering, and I'll start with you, Jim, the importance of mental health even in our political lanes, because it was recently diagnosed or released that Wendy Williams, who is very much known in the talk show host area, has been diagnosed with aphasia and dementia. So she's definitely been diagnosed with both of those. So I'm thinking she'll be getting off of the TV screens in the near future, but she was definitely somebody that was an Oprah fan and an Oprah friend as well. But as one that has done a lot of work, Jim, in that space of mental health awareness, I just wanted your take on this, because this is something that we have heard
Guys,
about with both.
I've got to run, but I just wanted to say Steve Rao reporting for duty.
All right.
Go for it,
All right.
Steve.
I'll see
Knock
you
him
guys.
dead.
Okay.
Dr. Star, we'll talk about Ukraine next week, okay? About the anniversary. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Go
Thanks, Steve.
get him.
Go get them and everything. But what's your take on that, Jim?
Well, it's so sad to hear that kind of diagnosis for anyone. It's horrible, and for their loved ones as well. The other thing that comes to mind is, Biden gets a lot of criticism for every time he misspeaks, but you go back in time and he's been misspeaking all his life. He had to overcome a lisp when he was younger, and sometimes that leads to him to pause before speaking, and it looks like he's forgetting, and it looks like he's struggling to find the words. And this is something people can be sensitive to, and people can be insensitive to. But there's no radical difference in when you watch him over the years from then and now. When you watch film of Trump, he was very forceful speaker. And now when you see him, he's making these gaffes that are very unlike what he used to sound like. He's mistaking Nancy Pelosi for Nikki Haley, and he's mixing things up, and he's not doing it once or twice, but he's doing it at event after event after event. And he's even been detected slurring his words. So, the mental cognitive decline, and I'll pass it to Sasha in just a second, is actually scary for Donald Trump and for his supporters. They might be in a bit of a denial about it, but people can see it. So, wake up. Something's going on with Trump.
Yep.
Jim, can you imagine how much you would have to slur if you would have to come up in 26 days with $600 million? I would like to see you. You would slur and you would not be able to.
Yeah. Yes, I would look a little bit disheveled as well.
You'd definitely be in trouble and everything. Hey, Sasha, I know you're down there at Aruba because you mentioned that earlier, but your other area, and this comes to something me and you and Jim were talking about when it comes to tech stocks and everything. But Air Canada has gotten in trouble and everything, apparently because they've been ordered to pay their customer because the customer was misled by the airline's chatbot. So apparently the company claimed that its chatbot was responsible for its own action when given wrong information about a bereavement fare. So they were actually going to a fair while somebody was going to deal with a lost one and all in a lost loved one and all in that space. But the Canada's largest airline has been ordered to pay compensation after its chatbot gave a customer inaccurate information, misleading him into buying a full price ticket. So I'd love to hear what Kim's got to say about this, since she's in the technology lane, but I also want to hear your thoughts about this because it comes out of Canada. But definitely that's just something that we've talked about, politicians being involved with the chatbots and maybe saying some things that they didn't intend to say because the chatbot told them to.
We used to blame it on the teleprompter.
I'll tell you what's happened to me and my wife on the departure holiday to Aruba. I call it NVIDIA holiday. So what's happened is that we done the boarding passes and everything was ready to fly, and I wanted to have it 5 stars all the way. I didn't want to have any troubles at any moment at all. Apparently what's happened when we were boarding, no, not boarding, sorry, going through registration, we were told, and I wanted to just get rid of my luggage and just go to have coffee or something. All of a sudden they say, sorry, we cannot register you. Oh, how is that working? Why? Well, because there is a new, I've been in Aruba several times, and normally when you arrive, you fill up the tourist card or something like that.
Yeah.
20 seconds or so on, and you're gone. Now they change it. You have to fill up a very detailed card, which you have to obtain from the internet. You have to fill it. They send confirmation once you fill it right away, and then you can get rid of your luggage and go to departure lounge. So, but it's very difficult to do it because you have to get it probably, and if you don't know how to get it, of course, there is no way you'll get it. So the attendant helped me to get this, and it's my wife's car, the information on the phone. Now, what's happened to people who don't have phones? Let's see if I want to go to Aruba. I don't have iPhone or any other smartphone. I just don't have it. I don't need it. I don't want it. I lost one. I sold one. Whatever. So it means, and I was told that unless you filled it and get a reply, we are not allowed you to board the plane. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, everything worked all right, except that I had to spend probably 15 minutes to fill it all up. And there was no place to sit, so I have to do it standing.
And it's anxiety producing. Yeah. It's
And
not just 15 minutes of having coffee, it's 15 minutes worrying.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a nightmare. And of course, when I will come back, I will take certain actions against my travel agent and airline, and I'll really think about it because it's it's incredible headache, really.
You know, what bothered me was I booked a trip out of the country a while back, and the day before I get this message saying, before you can leave, we have to have a face scan. And I had done all the other paperwork, like what you're talking about, Sasha. Like they wanted to know where I was going to stay, how long am I going to stay there, and I was kind of going as a free will, like get there and stay in a hotel and then hike the mountains.
Wait a moment, they ask also for your address in Toronto. Probably.
Yeah, I have to give them an address where I'm going to stay the whole time. But I mean, like even when I went to France, I traveled across the country in a train. I didn't know when I was going. It was just kind of, I'm going, you know. And so they wanted to know detail of where I was going, when I was going, am I renting a car, am I doing this, am I doing that? And it was very nerve-wracking for somebody like me who just kind of wings it, right? But they wanted, what bothered me the most was like what you were saying, what if I didn't have the technology? What if I had just a simple mobile phone? Because I don't want a computer with me everywhere I go. They wanted me to scan my face. And this was the TSA. I checked the place twice. They even dialed into it, and they said, yes, your account says you need. So, and I tried it until midnight. Like I worked on this for 3 hours. It would not scan my face. I have to be up at 4 a.m. to catch the flight.
Hey,
And
but Kim,
not board the plane until we get your face scanned in. There was no number to call. Nothing. And so when I
Kim, that's the issue with that's the issue even with some of the social media sites, as many people know on this network. I've been having problems with LinkedIn and with Facebook, but they want you to send a picture. They want you to send everybody but your firstborn and all along those lines. And as I don't have a firstborn, that's a whole verification thing that can be a nightmare and all along those lines and everything. So definitely they have gotten to the point of ridiculous. I'm getting to go over to our other show shortly, but I did have one other question that I wanted to get to you and to Sasha. We still got 10 minutes that y'all can speak on talking about. I got to get Coco going and everything. But this is actually for you, Kim. I said I got something for everybody and everything, but there are 2 very rare COVID side effects that have been detected in a global study of 99 million people. So they are saying that there are side effects including a neurological disorder and inflammation of the spinal cord that have been detected by researchers in the largest vaccine safety study to date. So this actually came out of The Guardian, out of London and everything. But I just wanted your take on that, because I know you've been one that's been concerned about the notion of the way that things were rolled out and the way that things are continuing to be rolled out and done in this time, as one that is in the science and engineering lane. So I just wanted your take on that, because when I saw that, I was like, I got to ask him about this.
We're going to bring Dr. Horowitz back to speak because Jim had brought up something that made a very impact in my heart. That it was because of Dr. Horowitz that I think I protected myself as well. He gave us some good advice as opposed to what was going on. But I think that Rick Rosner kind of opens my mind to what are the side effects that we're facing because there was no test done before they forced us to do some of this stuff. I notice a lot of people exhausted. I think that there are a lot of neurological problems. But the other thing that I have heard, and this is true, a lot of the doctors are complaining about all of the young patients with lung damage right now. That there are a severe amount of young people with severe lung damage. Another gentleman I know had lung cancer. And I have to ask myself, did this come from potentially the COVID situation or is it from vaping? But, if you're talking to somebody who's never vaped or smoked, this is just becoming concerning. And the doctors are truly starting to believe that a lot of our health problems are stemming from the things that came out of COVID, such as the vaccines. So it is concerning. It's very concerning.
Oh,
Yep. What's your take on that, Jim, and everything? And then Sasha, if you want to jump in, and then, like I said, I'll turn it over to you, Kim, for wrapping up the political
I'll wrap
side of
them
things.
up. I know you have another show.
yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Well, one or the other. Go ahead and take it.
Yeah, well, on a different topic, I just want the Republicans in the House to get with it and send aid to the Ukraine. Enough messing around. Ukraine needs our help. They're a democracy, and we're supposed to be helping democracies around the world, and we have an authoritarian that has invaded the country, and we've been giving them aid, and now we can't do anything in Congress, including doing our jobs, which is to send military aid in the forms of weapon or money or whatever it takes to help Ukraine defend itself. And so tying it to other issues or whatever practices you're using, the Senate has gotten a bipartisan agreement together. Why can't the House follow? The reason the House can't follow is because they're a cult.
I agree with you on that.
Trump.
Sasha, what is your thoughts on that? Because I just don't think we're doing enough to help this war close. And I think there's more that we can do to help this war close. What are your thoughts?
It's becoming almost existential war, not only for Ukraine, but for all Europe.
Yes.
Because if Putin will be successful, seeing that United States, which is a backbone of NATO, and it's supposed to defend NATO countries. So
Has been.
NATO are now pledging and paying way much more than United States. So the old Trump's decreeing that they're not helping enough, they don't pay up 2% as it was agreed. So this is all garbage as of today, obviously. So now, basically, Trump is nothing but Putin's puppy. And he is completely played by Putin. But what's horrendous situation is that he's playing all this MAGA wing in House, and they are blindly, including this idiot, what's his name, Mike
Johnson.
Mike Johnson. It's complete failure, complete. I wouldn't even call him an idiot, because an idiot is something that it's somebody who can sometimes be right and make logical opinions.
He's pretty useless.
This one is a useless, complete, so sometimes useful idiots. This is useless
He's
idiot.
not even doing that. Yeah.
And he and all this bunch of idiots, Republicans in the House, they are blindly following Trump. They're not even explaining why they're doing certain things. The Trump said so. That's all there is to it. So I'm waiting for a time that he will be locked in this beautiful jail in West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach is a very nice place. I've been there several times, and it's really nice place. Not as Aruba, okay, but still nice place. Still nice place. So Trump, Mar-a-Lago.
Rubbing it in our noses, Kimberly.
I mean,
By the way, you know that Trump.
You look great, son.
At one point, he claimed that Mar-a-Lago is worth, I think, kind of like $200 million. today, nobody gives him even $10 million for his project.
Well, I think when he ends up in prison, if he does, then we're going to see that, people will just change their tune. But he could become the first president that runs our country from prison too. Who knows? But I think it's just, disturbing with some of the things. And when you talk about Mike Johnson, I want people to remember why he is doing what he's doing. It had nothing to do because he could do the job right. It's because they replaced a person who was doing things for everyone and not for the Republican Party. So this was all political corruption.
Yes.
Okay. It was complete organized crime, if you ask me. That is organized crime. That's what organized crime is. You put your speaker, your mouth, who you want in place. If they're not speaking just for your gang, then what do? You shoot them down and you put a speaker in. So what happened there was pure organized crime. Okay. If somebody wants to come sue me for saying that, fine, because prove me wrong. How does organized crime operate?
The last thing I want to say, though, is the if we don't support Ukraine and it falls, it's not a threat to Europe only. Yeah, China will take another look at Taiwan. North Korea will take another look at South Korea because they will know that the U.S. will not back them. So come on, people, step up, do your job, represent democracies around the world. And this is the most important thing you can do today.
Take the 10 million undocumented people that they claim we have and soldier them up and send them out and tell them that if they win the war for Ukraine, then we'll make them citizens.
Yeah.
You know what? We do have a policy, what they call an immigration policy that says if you come and serve our country in the military for 2 years and do well, then you can become an American. So, so suit them up. If there's such a problem and we can't, the military, and we want to give aid to the Ukraine, suit them up, send them over and fight the war and tell them when you win that war, you come back, you can be an American. And that's what I would do as president. Just make it simple and easy.
And as I said before, I think that U.S. needs mandatory military service for young people.
We don't have enough money to, but here's the problem. I just read this today, actually. Not enough people are signing up anymore. Nobody wants to serve.
Yeah.
And
mandatory. I'm talking about mandatory military service. It doesn't matter what you want. No, so you don't go to jail. In Russia, when I was young, and there was mandatory military service, I would refuse. I would be thrown to jail right away.
I agree, but you know what? We can just as easily. I don't like saying, use the immigrants, but you know what? If they want to become an American, then, but here's the thing. Somebody was making a TikTok joke the other day, and the joke is I'm not worried about our country breaking out into a civil war. Nobody's going to get off the sofa playing their video games. And I'm like, you're dang straight.
We can't get anything right.
Nobody wants to work. Right. And that's the problem we run into in this country. And that's why we're going to put ourselves into a situation where we can't get out of the mess we're in. But we do need to start, one of the biggest walls we need to put up is win that war. That would establish grounds that, we need to stop the fighting, stop the wars, and unite the world. And I think that the world needs to unite with us in that fight as well. If you know what, you have BRICS, what we need to do is unite an organization like that. And you
should start calling the Russians illegal immigrants into Ukraine, and then we'll get money for it.
And one of the things I'm doing, and I'm so proud of our network, look at our people. We literally don't talk it. We walk ourselves to Washington to try to make changes. Okay. Look at David Walker does it. Nick does it. Steve does it. Many other people. Our people, we walk our talk. And I'm actually trying to get some accreditation to get into the UN, not to sit on the board, but to learn and listen and bring back real truth, not the propaganda that we hear of people spinning the stories. I want to sit in that room. So I'm trying to get my accreditation so I can get in that room and into Washington, into the back room, so that I can hear a lot of what going on. But until then, unfortunately, we got to wrap up. It's been a beautiful. Hey, Sasha, when do you come back from vacation?
I'm coming here a week over Monday.
I'm gonna come down and visit you in Aruba while you're there.
Yeah,
All right.
Get your face scanned.
You look too healthy. I want to come down and get healthy too. But everyone, take care of your health so that you can take care of your wealth. Don't forget to watch the Modern Investing.
Oh, by the way, we have a sofa bed in our room. That if you come, you can stay there.
Okay, there you go. I've done it before. I did it a couple of weeks ago, folks. And I thank you, Sasha. You know what? I might just do that. Don't be surprised if you see me knocking on the door.
Okay, will be my pleasure.
Everyone, enjoy and have a beautiful, blessed week. And
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone.